honestly.
We'll talk about it in the cast.
Actually, let's get straight into that. Hello and welcome everybody to Everyday Eternal number 156, your favorite, most deceptively named bi-weekly Legacy podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our brand new Patreons, Nikolai Rocke and Yevar. And I also want to say Kai was kind enough to make a huge donation to the Legacy crowd on Magic Online, right? You were like, you gotta win, you gotta win, you gotta win. What happened today, Kai?
Oh, everyone wins except your boy.
Yo.
Tell us, like, what exactly did you play and how was your score today?
So, spoiler, it was not Legacy.
That's why. That's an excuse.
Yeah, that's like the wildest excuse maybe. It was modern. And it was a deck where I even said at the beginning of the stream that I felt super confident, right? I felt so confident. Like, I'm not even putting any fun offs in here. This is like super streamlined, straightforward kind of thing, And it plays all the elementals. Like, Is It Scam, Ragavan, Counterspell, all the good stuff, right? And I just didn't win a single game, dude. I'm telling you guys, it was ridiculous. If there's like a Magic God out there, he had a bad day.
I mean, he had like 05 in matches and 010 in games.
Yeah, dude.
Ouch.
Yeah, dude. And
Wizards at some point were calling, I think this guy is win trading. Like, he's the guy who's always losing, right? That's how the win traders do it. They were like, Sawatarix, yeah, probably not known win trader. Let's investigate that guy. And then they watched your games. They were like, okay, he's just straight up terrible.
Thank you.
In your defense, I watched like the very last game, I think, on way home, and your like opponent like top decked runner or something. Like the gods are out to get you today.
Yeah, well, that's a really easy way to excuse a perfect 05, 010 maybe. But I'm telling you guys, like, I didn't purposely try to get there. It just happened. Like, naturally.
I don't know if that's better or worse.
It's definitely worse. It's good.
It's kind of funny we talk about that because I was actually talking to Zach of Eternal Durdles the other day because, check it out, I actually said, yeah, it's out already. I was a guest on that show. And afterwards, we talked quite a bit about the history of Magic and, like, he has so many interesting stories. And we actually arrived at talking about the certified worst Magic player in history. And I guess I'm not actually going to name
boy.
Hello.
No, so let me very quickly touch on that because it's an amazing story. We used to have ELO ratings, right, back in the day, and there were like composite ratings, Eternal ratings, so you could look up like who's the best Eternal player on the world, in your state, in your country, whatever, and also like total rating. And there was a guy, a German guy. His first name is Christopher, last name doesn't matter. Actually, yeah, it doesn't matter. He was known as literally, and by quite a fair margin, the worst player in the world because his ELO rating, I think at his lowest point was 1,036, and mind you start out at 1,600. At least back then, we started out at 1,600. And if you know about like ELO ratings and K values were traditionally like mostly like 8 or 16 for most like regional and small tournaments. So you could really only lose like 16 points when you lost to somebody like way, way beyond you. So he literally lost 600 points to get to, I think he was like 200 points down from the second worst player, which I think was a guy in Thailand, if I remember correctly. So they had this epic battle of who's the worst player in the world.
Oh my goodness.
And I even found an old article where somebody was analyzing the ELO rating and he called it like the rating from LSV to Christopher so-and-so.
Poor Christopher.
Yeah. Oh man, that's funny. I mean, I know this guy personally.
I know, right? He's from Berlin. He's a judge.
He's from Berlin, and I've never played against him. It would have been probably like a pretty tough head-to-head combat kind of thing. But
maybe he was in the league today.
Oh, dude! Like if he cried, no, he would never ever touch it, Moto. But maybe he does.
He's kind of likable. Like I've never met him, but I read an article about the German Legacy champion. German nationals in 2008 or 9, I want to say, and he was one of the judges. And it's so funny because they introduced every judge and had something nice to say about every judge. And then for him, they were like, okay, you probably already know him. He made quite the name for himself for losing slightly more often than winning. And then they had a very small interview with him, and he always was like, I don't know, it just naturally happens. I play and then I lose. It's just what it is. Like he was like, I still enjoy the game. Like that's kind of cool, right?
Very cool.
Yeah, he's still like I think he's like a collector, and as far as I know, he has been collecting at least all the booster packs from all the sets, like including alpha, beta, and whatnot. And I think like every Magic enthusiast is like partially a collector and partially a player. I would say it's just like a matter of balance, right? Like
Absolutely, yeah.
Like for example, Spikes, for example, right? Like they're like 99.9% players, and
100% reason to remember the name.
So yeah, there's that. But it's kind of funny that you mentioned him.
Yeah, I just randomly came across them. So
some players like they don't really aim to get better. They're playing the game because they like the game, and they're just looking at the cards and playing the game as it plays out, and they're like, oh, I lost again, and it doesn't really matter, which is cool.
I think it's also kind of like how a lot of people play, I don't know, like random sports like football, basketball, whatever. It's all about like hanging out with your friends and doing stuff.
I mean, I know we talk about Warhammer a lot because I'm into it these days, but that's how a huge number of people, actually probably a majority of players, don't care if they win or lose. They try to win in the game, obviously, because it's about winning or losing, but a lot of them just don't really care if they lose because it's just playing the game. It's like a board game. So,
you know, my our common friend who started playing Warhammer this year.
Yeah,
I talked to him the other day. How's it going? Because I didn't really get to play like properly, but he did in Munich quite a lot, and he kind of like. I don't know if he quit, but he certainly went on a break because he was like, everybody's so terrible. Like, there's no point in playing. I'm just mentioning this because I'm pretty sure like none of his opponents are actually listening in.
No. Warhammer, there's a huge gap between like casual players and tournament players. Way, way bigger than in Magic. So it makes sense.
I can imagine. I can imagine. Like for every column, there's like 20 guys.
I mean, isn't there even a competition for like who's the best at I don't know, like stitching those figures together or for painting?
Oh yeah,
that sort of stuff.
Those are more popular than the actual game tournament, like where you play the game at tournaments. So that's what I like. I like the game of it more. But much bigger is there's a thing called Golden Demon, which is like, you know, people fly in from all over the world to do it once a year and submit their best painted model, and to win a prize or a certification at Golden Demon is crazy hard. People spend like, I don't know, 200-300 hours painting a single model to get it to perfection.
Damn.
And there's one thing at this thing called the Slayer Sword, and like, you know, you get one winner per year of this huge sword, and you're like the best painter in the world basically, and it's just the most coveted thing you can imagine. And to enter, you need to buy a ticket, and it sells out within like minutes, I think. So yeah, the painting side of Warhammer is much bigger.
Yeah.
You know, I'm actually kind of curious. Why don't they ever print like black and white artwork Magic cards and then you can color it in? I mean, that's probably more for children, right?
I mean, we all learned it in kindergarten, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if you want to appeal to a younger crowd or something, I don't know.
That's pretty one of your worst ideas ever. Sorry.
I mean, yeah, okay.
I mean, they tried it once with the Modern Horizons cards, right? Where they also released the sketch versions. And
yeah,
like, that was cool though. That was for charity.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know if you remember all of them, but for example, the one for Dress Down was literally, it was almost like a blank canvas.
Oh yeah.
The Julian, one is amazing.
Julian, would you do color in cards?
No.
Cool. Just checking.
So, I mean, this is a little off topic, but there is like this video on YouTube. You definitely gotta watch. It's a video where a horror artist colors a Disney book or something like that, and it has like all the, you know, like Winnie Pooh and Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and all these like iconic characters, and then this horror artist goes like all over them with like, you know, like blood red and whatnot, and like completely turns this whole book into like a horror book, which is
basically a German version of it.
It's quite the thing. You guys really gotta like check it out.
That sounds really cool.
Because like it kind of shows like how powerful colors are, right? Like even with the same objects, but like Winnie Pooh and whatnot. Like if
he's not doing alterations. He's just changing up the colors.
Oh, he's coloring those color books or however you call them. But he does it in like a horror way. But so
but he's not actually changing the artwork, right?
He's not changing artwork at all. He's just applying color to it. Yeah. So you see like a lot of like blood splatter and whatnot.
Isn't that like what you always see in Mickey Mouse? I literally, whenever I got like these comic books when we went on holidays when I was a kid, I only ever read like the Donald Duck comics. I always skipped the Mickey Mouse because Mickey Mouse is like so vanilla, so boring. I could never get myself to read about Mickey Mouse. It was always like Donald Duck.
Oh yeah, it looks like Donald Duck is the best selling, so to say, like product or character in all of Disney.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I'm actually a little bit surprised, but yeah, he's just so much cooler than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, he's stupid.
He's a total jerk. Yeah, and stupid.
Yeah, people like stupid people.
Yeah.
People who go 0-10 and that sort of stuff.
Cool. So, guys, you know what I kind of want to talk about? I was thinking about this the other day, and it always feels like whenever there's kind of like a new era of Legacy, whenever it feels like a new thing starts, there's always one thing people bring back. And what happened after Deathrite Shaman got banned? You know what was one of the most popular and famous decks in the first weeks after Deathrite Shaman got banned?
Rock Delver?
Exactly, right? Everybody were like, not everybody. Like, it feels like there's this almost like cyclical thing where, like, after 2 or 3 years, people are like, you know what should come back? Drug Delver. It's like, oh yeah, I know that you mentioned. And then everybody like takes out Drug Delver. In this case, I mean, we have Up the Beanstalk, right? That's a big thing that made it a thing.
Stifle's finally good as well.
Is it?
That's the joke.
I know. One day, honestly, I've always kind of liked Stifle, even when it like wasn't. I'm one of those guys who contributes to trying to bring Stifle back, and then we do for 2 weeks, and then everybody's just like, that's
Stifle is a beautiful card. It's iconic for Legacy.
Yeah, it has like great artwork, great flavor text. Like,
it does.
If you're a Legacy player, dude, you should know the flavor text of Stifle. That's one of the few cards where I feel like, also like original Tempest Wasteland, the land promises nothing and keeps its promise.
Stifle. Yeah, great. Yeah, I know the flavor text.
You want to read it out?
It's so funny because like we do. Yeah, like I also looking up it right now. Stifle.
Go on, read it, Kai.
Well, I'm still. Is it the one on audio? Is it the one on Scourge?
Yeah. No, I'm talking about like, I don't know, Master, New Phyrexia, reprint, Horizons. No, of course.
Oh shit! Okay, I'm reading it for the very first time now.
Are you kidding me? Like you're like a Canadian Threshold player.
Like, yeah, well, like, who reads flavor text, man?
Me?
Like they don't.
This guy, everybody.
Don't worry, Kai. I'm kind of with you. I recognize it now. I read it, but I wouldn't have been able to tell you.
Thank you. So it says, if I wanted your opinion, I have told you.
I would have told you what it was.
And it's from Pemin Riptide Survivor.
It is great.
I know Pem. No, I don't know who Pemin is.
Pemin is a play on words, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Like Pemin's Aura. Oh yeah, Pemin's Aura was like if you switch up the letters, there's a proper word for that. It spells out "I am Superman." Because it basically turns you into Morphling, and Morphling's nickname is Superman.
Okay.
That's so cool.
Like after reading this flavor text, this totally reminds me of one of the greatest movies of all time. It's The Big Lebowski, where it just says like, that's just like your opinion, man.
If I wanted your opinion, I'd have told you what it was, man.
Seriously, man.
Crossover episode, you know.
And instead of Pemmy, we have the dude.
Bring back the dude as a planeswalker.
Oh, god damn it.
No, seriously, guys, what do you think about all of this? We've seen Rock Delver and Enter the Beanstalk coming back and becoming a thing in Legacy. I think at least I saw Callum. No, I saw Kai stream it quite a bit. I also, by the way, we want to jump on that in a minute. Also, I saw Kai stream OG Canadian Threshold, right? Just the other week.
Yes.
That was your birthday present to me.
That was your birthday present. Also, happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
To quickly touch on first of all, like why people like Rock Delver so much and why people come back to Rock Delver every now and then, right? Is I'm gonna put the Oko Arcanist bullshit Rock Delver in columns for now, but every other iteration of the Rock Delver archetype has been so iconic and also so fruitful is the wrong word, but like so positive, like positive vibes, and it's just so not oppressive.
So many souls have drowned after turn 1 Stifle.
Dude, people love it. Like when you hear Rock Delver, you think of Jacob Wilson, you think of Alexander Hayne, you think of, I don't know, Jonathan Alexander maybe, and like some other great minds. And Rock Delver has been around, and like literally everyone loves Nimble Mongoose. At least I do.
I do. I think there's two types of Eternal players: those who love Nimble Mongoose and those who think it's a bullshit card.
You could be both.
It could be both too.
It is both.
I mean, if you were a countertop Miracle player, you probably hate Nimble Mongoose.
No, you hate Winter Orb.
Winter Orb, that's the big one, right?
Yeah.
But so when you gave me the 75 for the OG Canadian Threshold deck list
from like 2008, 2009.
Yeah, like the one even before the Delve of Secrets, like the super old school one with like Quattro, Spell Snare, and the full, same like playset of Fire and Ice and even our fucking Rushing River, man.
One Rushing River, nice. One Mundidian Click, yeah.
That deck, like I jumped into a league and I started 3-0,
I think you didn't even drop a game or something.
I don't think I dropped a game. And in today's legacy environment, right, which is, call it crazy, but the core concept of Rock Delver still remains very strong. Like, the spells are strong. The threats have definitely changed. The threats are terrible. Like, I'm sorry, Nimblemongoose and Tarmogoyf. Like, those guys are really medium, but the core of Stifle, Wasteland Days, Lightning Bolt, Force of Will, that sort of stuff, is just, even today, right? Because Legacy has been around for a very long time, and the spells have kind of been the same. The mana bases are also somewhat similar to mana bases 10 years ago.
It's kind of hard to make something even better than dual lands, right?
Exactly.
Dual lands and fetch lands, like, where are we going to go from there?
Yeah. Like, even the removal, like, you cards like Dismember, Lightning Bolt. Okay, Rushing River is a little outdated maybe, but like, even cards like Submerge, like, those cards you still see today, and yeah,
I mean,
like,
you haven't really lived until you've double bounced Murktide Regent with Rushing River, right?
Oh man, I wanted to do it so badly.
I'm not alive yet. Definitely, it sounds great though. But it's a kind of testament to how nice good reactive or filtering are, because they just scale with other cards' power levels. So like, as threats got better, these cards just stay with that power level throughout time.
Yeah, and I also want to say, like, your anti-combo package was like pretty good, right? At that point.
Yeah, like, I should probably mention that the 3 opponents I beat were all 3 on combo, and where my threats weren't really that important, right?
I mean, if you're playing against combo, you're almost like happy to have Tarmogoyf, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, even Nimblemongoose kind of charged very quickly, so it wasn't all that bad, right? But if you combine that crazy powerful shell of Delver strategies, especially the ones that are super cool and includes things like Stifle and Spell Pierce and whatnot, and combined with like threats from 2023, I think you have a really decent looking deck.
The one thing that I was a little bit like disappointed about was that I had to kind of acknowledge that Spell Snare wasn't as good as I hoped it would be. It felt like kind of awkward, especially when you had the second one in a lot of hands, and you also like couldn't really pitch it to Force of Will at times. So for as much as I want the card back, because I love the tempo it provides, I'm trying to will it into being a thing, but I just can't do it. And after watching you play, it's
I remember that screenshot where I had like the full playset of Spell Snare in my hand. Opponent goes like, tap 2 mana for a Murktide Regent.
Yeah, that's the world we live in, unfortunately.
I was about to say, like, in the old Tarmogoyf world, like, they were super important, but I would have guessed that Bowmasters is like the same thing, but I don't know.
Yeah. They used to help you a lot in catching up in tempo, especially on the draw. But nowadays, it doesn't really play out like that anymore. And you can't really keep it up. And a lot of situations, they're just like straight up awkward. And half the combo decks, they don't even care about spells now. So what can you do? But yeah, other than that, I was super impressed. Like, I thought you were going to struggle with that list just because it was like literally 14, almost 15 years old at the time. But I think you piloted it to a 3-2 or something. I think you lost against Scam.
It ended up being a 3-2. Losses were to Blue Black Scam and to Dimir Death Shadow. But both rounds went to a critical game number 3. So it wasn't like, it was completely unbeatable. You just had to maneuver through a couple of the threats, but man, Murktide Regent is such a beating. Oh my god,
it's so crazy, right? Like, your entire deck doesn't really do anything against that.
Shadow seems incredibly hard as well. Like, just the threat Shadow is so good against this style of deck.
Yeah, it's never been easy. I think the last time when Rock Delver was a proper deck versus Dimir Death Shadow, it was like a fight between Tarmogoyfs versus Gurmag Anglers and those kind of things. But it's never been easy.
No.
So at that point, we come full circle. We come back into Rock Delver, or whatever it looks like in this year, 2023 right now. And we
people are main decking 3 commandeers. Alexander Hayne and Jacob Wilson were well ahead of the times.
Oh, should we actually put that in the show notes?
Yes.
That was one of the most legendary links ever. Okay, I'm going to put down a note here. Show notes.
I think it's called like Legacy, like Troll Delver or whatever.
It was so good. So this is another history lesson. There was once a league on Channel Fireball when they still posted leaks with Alexander Hayne and Jacob Wilson, and they built the most troll version of Canadian Threshold ever with like Tybalt in the sideboard and Commandeer And they actually made and he did Sugo's like last ride or something.
He did Sugo's second ride,
Which
The beauty of it
is there on 13.
The beauty of it is the main deck is completely stock. I think maybe they had 61. I can't remember now, but the main deck was pretty much stock. And then the sideboard, this is where it got funny. They would like usually win game one because it's the two best players with the best deck. Then they would be making up reasons to bring in all these terrible cards and try not to piss themselves laughing. It's so beautiful.
How they kind of both try to play like the straight man in that comedy.
Yeah.
Like they were like, oh, this is an excellent draw, and they like draw T-bot.
Yeah. They're like, this is exactly what we wanted.
Sometimes leaves you like worse off after activating its ability.
Yeah. There's one bit where they discard like a force of will against a comedy. They're like, oh yes, thank you, T-bot. That's exactly what we wanted. Great stuff. So yeah, please everyone go and watch this. You'll make your day.
I think that's just like what Rug Delver has going for it, or Canadian Threshold. I think there's not many decks, if any, that has this much culture around it, and not like in the sense of, oh, we are cultured, but more like this whole, you know what I mean, right? This.
I know what you mean. It's hard to like put into words.
It's hard to put it into words.
Yeah, I do what you mean. There's people who are like, I'm a threshold player. They've become Delver players over time, obviously, but
it's like we sometimes joke about, oh, like Dredge is a lifestyle or something. Like Rug Delver is a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Rug Delver is very much a thing, and it's one of. Maybe I'm getting a little bit too romantic here, but I sometimes think about these things, and you can call me crazy. I sometimes think if the history of Legacy was a movie, who would be the main protagonists? And I think Rug Delver could be the main protagonist.
Oh yeah, easy. Yeah, this is the Frodo Boyd.
This is the Frodo, right? I think there's a couple of other decks up there, like Miracus, probably, even though I don't want to admit it. It's more like the villain.
I would say like kind of stuff like goblins and lands. Probably
goblins has been around for.
Yeah, but goblins is like one of those two hobbits.
But goblins really is a lifestyle. Like you talk to goblins players, and they're like, I wouldn't even think of touching anything else. Delver players are like, I've played Shadow here and there. I'd play these other things. I've touched Control, blah blah. They're all traitors. Goblin players are beautiful.
Goblin players play goblins because they like goblins, and Rug Delver players play Rug Delver because they like playing a good deck.
Because they like rugs.
Dude, remember you like got all these like really really bad names, like a bug and a rug and everything. Oh my god! It's like
Castlevania was it?
Which only makes sense when you speak German, even, right?
Yeah.
Like Burg. Oh my god, Kai, you remember Die Burg?
Yeah,
you must play Die Burg.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Full color Delver with like Underground Sea into Tiger. Oh my goodness.
Wasn't that like Carsten Cotter pushing it or something?
It was Carsten Linden. Yeah.
Carsten Linden. Yeah.
So just to explain that one, if anyone doesn't know, it was like 4-color Delver with Deathrite and Mongoose and Goyf, I think, basically, but playing red for Bolt and Blast, essentially. And so Burg is castle in German, so B-U-R-G, so black, blue, red, green. There we go.
Right.
It's not a bad name, actually, considering all things.
Yeah, it was like when you think about how much it changed, like in German it was Die Burg and then Castle, Castlevania, because of the game. It's just like
it was a bit
legacy
of a
deck names. But I try to go back to Up the Beanstalk, but you already noticed, right? When we talk about Rug Delver, I can't even say nostalgic for it, because it's still like there's rarely a time where it's not at least like a lower tier 2 deck in the format, just because you already mentioned, right? It has so many efficient spells.
Well, like you run into it in a league and not be surprised. That's
at time. Yeah, I guess you can say that. But help me out, guys. I think, Kai, you've played this quite a bit. Why exactly are we playing Up the Beanstalk in Rug Delver? Isn't that like supposed to be a tempo deck?
Yeah, currently there are, I would say, like 2 different types of Rug Delver. The one is the more like control-ish version, I want to say, and the more like, like interactive kind of thing, where you have the Up the Beanstalk and then a couple of delve threats, Force of Will, and even crazy stuff like Magmatic Sinkhole if you want to. I personally kind of changed it to like to the core of like 3 copies of Stifle, even a Spell Pierce in the main deck, and really focusing on like the tempo aspect with an eventual possible late game with the Up the Beanstalks, right? So you have that, and then you have the other one, which is hypercharged on creatures. It plays 16 creatures, but 4 of them are the Phyrexian.
Questing Dryad.
Is it Questing
Druid? Yeah.
Exactly. So
I want to say like Quirion Dryad, but we arrived at Questing Druid.
I think that's the more popular version, though. At least I can only speak for Japan for now. But in Japan, that version is basically the go-to Rug Delver these days.
Okay, so it's also like more mid-rangey, or
it kind of is, right? Like people try to justify the card by saying that it's like a card advantage spell. It's not as good as Expressive Iteration, but it kind of gets there, kind of thing. I personally have a problem with this card, not personally, but I just feel that the card is terrible.
Wow, I was about to say I think it's very good.
Okay. In that case,
we can argue about that.
Let me quickly read out the card for those who don't know.
Yep.
Questing Druid is a green card, 1 colorless and a green for a 1/1 creature human druid. Whenever you cast a spell that's white, blue, black, or red, put a +1/+1 counter on Questing Druid. But it also has the adventure mode, where you can play a colorless and a red, instant adventure. Exile up to 2 cards of your library. Until your next turn, you may play those cards. So that's kind of like... Callum, help me out. What is the 3 mana, the card that exiles 3?
I will just add, it's not quite until your next turn, it's until your next end step. So you really want to like play at the end of your opponent's turn quite often, because if you play it on your turn, you need to cast them that turn.
Exactly.
Which is the problem. So like the upside to some of these kind of effects is some of them say until your like next turn you may cast them. I can't remember the exact wording.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
So this one is very important as an instant. It does have that slightly awkward timing thing where you can't just turn 2 play it. You have to like wait until your opponent's end step and do it. The cards, I think it's just pretty good. It's not amazing. It's not going to change the format as it's not at the moment. But I think just being a potential 3-for-1 in the late game, just being like able to find 2 things off it in the late game and then play it as a creature is actually upside over Expressive Iteration. You can't rebuy it with Sanctuary. The creature does just die sometimes. It's not a very good threat early, but then neither is a card advantage spell early. So you can just play it on turn 2 as a threat if you need it as well. So it's very modal. It's quite slow and a bit clunky. That's the downside to it. But for being a potential 3-for-1 and modal, as I said, I don't know. I think it's got a pretty high ceiling.
Well, yeah, if you say it like that, it definitely does. But so here's the one really good thing about this card is that you really don't want to submerge this guy, right?
That's
Once
true.
it's on the battlefield. So
is that the problem about the card?
That's the problem, yeah.
So that's the good thing about Questing Druid. So
Okay.
now there's like a bunch of shitty things about this card.
Okay.
And like I'm not here to say that this card is unplayable. Like you definitely see it in decks. It's just that the card pretty much forces you to, like, you're not gonna cast Questing Druid just by itself, right? Like you're always gonna go Seek the Beast first as the instant adventure thing, and then you're gonna cast the Questing Druid from exile.
I would say yes versus fair, but not against combo. Just to interject a little bit.
Are you telling me that you're gonna cast a 2-mana 1/1 with
I mean, it's
minor
gonna attack
upsides?
for like probably like 2 or 3 on the next turn, and then like 4 or 5 on the turn after, maybe. I mean, I'm also not thrilled to like, especially if I have to tap out for it on the second turn. I probably wouldn't tap out for it. I mean, yeah, on the second turn, you probably wouldn't tap out for it and just like Seek the Beast. And I love the name, by the way. What at your end of turn, I want to Seek the Beast
It's very
on an
cool.
instant adventure. That sounds so dirty, by the way.
I mean, it has a lot of like awkward timings, right? Like the Seek the Beast, as you guys already mentioned, like you can't do it main phase. You have to basically play your second land, pass the turn without doing anything, and then at your opponent's end of turn or in response to some spell or whatever, then you're gonna cast a Seek the Beast, and where you either hopefully find the answer to whatever your opponent's presenting, or not, right?
Yeah.
And then you untap and you eventually maybe cast the Questing Druid or you cast something else. The problem I have with this card is that a lot of the times you exile cards from the library you don't actively need right now, and there are like cards like Forcible Days, for example. They might just like be in exile forever.
Yeah, I noticed that like the thing Quest the Beast. Oh God, I'm totally confused. The thing Questing Druid does the most when I play against it is to literally just give you another land drop. It's almost like a bad man's, like poor man's rampant growth. That's not even it.
Can we just call this card Questing Beast?
Yeah, so,
That's much better.
It's kind of funny. I saw that on Twitter where somebody was like, "Oh my God, I love that this is like a very conscious throwback to Questing Beast, of course, and Wizards. Thank you so much." And then Carmen Handy came in and was like, "Oh no, this is just like total coincidence. Like there was the card wasn't even named when we had like the artwork and everything. It just happened to be called Questing Druid."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but I do agree with you as well. That like it is awkward timing. It is a bit clunky. I don't know how many like the deck's playing. I would guess 3 is my inclination, but I haven't actually looked.
Well,
So,
so
I don't know.
let's do like a little little quiz here. So oh, it's actually not a real quiz, but anyway, so if a legacy playable card is a 10 out of 10, okay, you have to be a 10 out of 10 to play for the card to be legacy playable. How many points do you give a Quirion Dryad?
Quirion Dryad, I'd give like a 0 point something. Close to 0.
I think
Close
like it really depends like on where you start 0, because 0 for me would be like completely unplayable, like Stinkweed kind of stuff.
Okay, I'll give it between 1 and 2 then.
Okay, 1 and 2.
Terrible.
Okay, that's
I
good.
would actually say it's like a 3 something, because it's like it's not. You will lose games against it, right? At times.
I guess.
Okay. Let's say 3. Okay, for argument's sake, and then the Seek the Beast. That's somewhat of a reckless impulse, right?
Oh, that's the name I was looking for earlier.
So how many points you give reckless impulse in Legacy?
I give it 6.
Now you got 2 of those on the same card, right?
Maybe 7.
Damn, that's 7 is kind of high. But
I think
okay.
Reckless Impulse is not bad. It didn't end up working out in Delver for a few reasons, but I think it's not a bad card.
Okay, nice. So it passed the test because 7 plus 3 is 10, and 10 is playable.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
Oh, 10 is like the threshold for just being playable in the first place.
Oh, I just wanted to. I'm really bad at math and just wanted to sound smart.
Well, because I said 2 something and 7, which is 9. So.
Right, but that's exactly what I mean, right? Like, so if you combine both modes, it's barely up there. I want to say.
I just can't get over like how messed up this Sawatarix Scale of Playability is. The card is either playable or not.
So would you play 1 in a red, deal 2 damage, divide as you choose? What would you give that?
To what? Deal 2 damage to?
1 in a red, deal 2 damage, divide as you choose to any targets. What would you give that in Legacy?
Divided as I choose to any targets.
Yeah, 2 damage, divided as you choose to any
Doesn't
targets.
that already exist?
I mean, it's like
that's cast into the fire, right?
It's 4, but if you add a little bit of text that says if you can also exile an artifact, that would definitely
definitely
make it a 10.
Jesus Christ, you guys are awful. I'm trying to do Fire Ice and you're just completely... What the hell is wrong with you?
I mean, at the time it was like really good.
I guess.
Oh man.
By the way, you know what's also like not exactly great about Cresting Beast, and that's a problem with another card. And I noticed that when I was trying to like grind like mid-range and control decks out with, for example, I don't know, like random beats from Painter. And that brings me back to Fourth Erlingas. I think a lot of cards that we used to have, because they were just like, you know what we call like sticky threats, like stuff that usually like require multiple cards to deal with, unless there's a mess removal spell, and even then they sometimes like come back. That's not as important anymore, because pressuring Planeswalkers is not as important anymore, because at some point it's just going to be Fourth Erlingas time, and then the Cresting Druid is going to be like, hey, I'm big and swole and I block a token, and then the other tokens are like, yeah, and then your master dies.
It's true. Actually, that's a good point. I didn't really think of that in a macro Legacy thing, where like Planeswalkers are probably at the worst they've been in since they were printed, really. Like, control now is just Uro, the Ring, and Fourth Erlingas. Like, I know there's Narcissus and Nefarious around, but like they just die, they're whatever.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I don't want to say that that's necessarily a bad thing, honestly,
no,
because like nothing is worse than having like pseudo like mid-range control mirrors where, you know, you just keep slamming your Planeswalkers and you can't really touch them.
Yeah, and Fourth just punishes it so much now.
Isn't that what they called Standard a couple of years ago? Pretty much.
Well, that's why we are a Legacy podcast, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, as I try to keep try to circle the conversation back to Up the Beanstalk.
You're doing a great job, Julian.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I've taken many awards for it. You've never seen them. Kai already explained. Okay, let's put it that way. Kai already explained how there's like 2 different flavors of Rock Diver flying around, and right now what Up the Beanstalk does, it gives you a little bit more reach, not in terms of like traditional reach, as in like burn spells, but it gives you more stamina. I guess that's the best way to put it, right? You can keep playing the game for longer than you're actually used to as a combo deck, so as a tempo deck, and that allows you to not only like capitalize on your still very undercosted threats, especially Murktide Regent, and of course all your like counter magic that costs like 5. As in, first of all, dude, I'm really digging myself into a hole here. I'm trying to explain
No, you do good. I think the Up the Beanstalk is kind of similar to similar libraries maybe, except that you don't lose as much life. And like life points are quite crucial these days because of Oakish Bowmasters, pinging you for a bunch for drawing extra cards. Also, like Grief is like among the most played creatures in Legacy right now, and this guy has Menace, kind of hard to block. A lot of the creatures have evasion, and if you can just keep your life total in check, that's really appreciated right now, right?
Yeah, Seven Library is actually a pretty good comparison in those decks because that one is supposed to do pretty much the same, but unlike Up the Beanstalk, you can literally destroy the library after it came down, right? Or even like bounce it or something with Teferi, and then it still hasn't done anything. Whereas Beanstalk, nobody likes destroying Beanstalk or bouncing it or doing something to it. Like, you don't want to touch Beanstalk. The best Beanstalk is the one that doesn't resolve, that one that gets spell snared. And that's the super annoying part about it. And since so much of what Ruck is doing harmonizes so well with Up the Beanstalk, I think that's kind of what made it playable again. You already mentioned, right? We're very much leaning more into a mid-range game. I think we already did as soon as Murktap became a thing. There's not this world anymore where you sometimes tap out for your turn to a threat and then you ride it to victory, as we did for Tarmogoyf, which was like one of the most common things that these decks used to do back in the day. And now you can afford to go more mid-range, which I guess is also why we don't really like need the early tempo advantage of spell snaring their turn 2 play. Trying to paint a picture here of Ruck Delver not necessarily needing to be as aggressive as it used to be.
I think the truth is Delver, or like, the Ponder, Brainstorm, Wasteland, whatever, Daze Shells, they had the ability to be mid-range in the past, but people didn't really clock onto it as much, or the kind of advantage spells weren't as good potentially. But now people are realizing you can build these tempo decks in a way as mid-range decks as well, or give them some grinding power. And so, they still have these aggressive starts, and the cards are just good. They're just efficient, and that's like, efficiency is the name of the game for tempo now. And here, this card is the opposite of tempo. It's 2 mana, draw a card, and then get value later in the game. Maybe not even for a few turns. It's like, you think it's the opposite of what Delver wants to be doing. But in the end, Delver's just playing cards that are efficient, and you get card advantage or other advantages like tempo by playing, cheaper spells and stuff. So you're just building up advantages against other decks in the format in different ways. And then because of the flexibility of cantrips, you're just trying to shape what advantage you're gaining based around what the kind of matchup dictates or something. So, in other mid-range mirrors or control, or even some games against combo, you're just going to be playing this slower game where you lean on something like Up the Beanstalk, which can give you this huge advantage later. Like, Hooting Mandrills, Force of Will, and Murktide don't need help to be good. They're amazing already. And here, you're just like, stapling, draw a card onto it from a card that's already replaced itself. If you have the time to get that card advantage, it's a very strong engine, because they'll just, feed into more and more. The second Beanstalk, and then your Force of Will draws 2 cards. It's like, that is some crazy card advantage. And it just snowballs because they find you more and more. So if you can, buy yourself the time in the format to ride that advantage, the shell of Brainstorm and Ponder and the bolts and all the removal and counter magic will give you that time if you need to. And against, combo decks, you can just, based on your hand, if you're being aggressive or not. So they end up just being, very card advantage oriented, but have this slant to be more aggressive if it's needed or if the hand dictates it. So it just makes the decks very hard to play against having an angle like this. It was the problem with Iteration as well, when you could Sanctuary it back. You didn't know whether you were going to die to like DRC turn 1, DRC turn 2, and then like you bolt you or something, or they're going to outgrind you. So it's the similar thing here, really.
I think you already mentioned DRC, right? I think DRC is a huge part of that, which gives you a lot more selection in the mid-game. And also one of the main reasons why we don't really play Delver in these decks anymore. I mean, you still see it, especially, I guess, if you go for a more, like, Stifle route, like Kai. Kai, did you actually, like, play Delver in one of your Beanstalk streams?
No, I've dropped Delver completely. And, you don't see a lot of Delver in general because of Oakish Bowmaster, right?
It's hard being a Delver these days.
Yeah, Delver is not in a good spot. Like the card Delver of Secrets.
At some point they're literally just gonna print like one blue Insect Elaboration, 3/2 flying. There you go.
Oh yeah, that flips back to a 1/1, right?
Whenever your opponent reveals instant sorcery, it flips back. That'd be cool.
It literally says some sorcery.
Would that be playable? You play it as a Delver, like a flipped one, and then your opponent has a trigger in their upkeep. If they reveal instant sorcery, it flips to a 1/1.
Instant or sorcery. So I think if it's instant or sorcery, it's like super awkward.
Yeah.
But then again,
And then you need to flip it back with an instant sorcery.
It might actually be worse than Delver when you think about it.
Dude, I don't want to be the guy like just putting the Delver out, in and out of the sleeve every 5 seconds or so.
Sorry, this is such a dumb idea.
What a terrible design. Oh my goodness.
Okay, so you know what's interesting as we talk about this reminds me so much of our last episode where we looked at the very first Delver decks, like Canadian Threshold as well as like Barn Threshold and that kind of stuff. And they had like bigger creatures, less of a tempo game, more of a mid-range game, and a lot of them played stuff like, you guys remember Accumulated Knowledge, Predict, that kind of stuff, and Up the Beanstalk is just so much better, right? If that had existed back then when people were playing like, well, not Fledgling Dragon, because, neither Fledgling Dragon nor Mystic Enforcer works, right? That they have 4 mana. But you get the idea, right?
But the idea is the same. And this is like, again, like I think you mentioned it in the last episode, but people should really take their time and look up those super old deck lists, right? Like people did the math for the correct land count or cantrips or removal or threat numbers. They did it for a reason, right? And like it you don't have to reinvent the wheel, I think, every 2
it certainly
months.
doesn't hurt to like at least test run or apply to a current situation, but I think a lot of times you will end up in similar like numbers. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the big downside, and this is what I looked up on the way back home from work today, where I was like super excited to look into this, and I wanted to add a deck list to the show notes. You know how often this thing has actually top 8'd a Legacy Challenge in the last month?
I'm not going to say because I can see it in front of me.
Okay, I did not expect this. So listeners, listen in on this. I think this Beanstalk Rock Delver, like Rock Midrange deck has been around for like quite a while, like a month or something, 1.5 months. And it literally has a single challenge top 8 during that time. Like we have 2 challenges a week. And in all of those challenges, there's literally only, and I opened it here, what's the name again? Gabery091. Congratulations, you are the only person, and I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. I actually tried to look at all of them. You're the only person to ride Rock Beanstalk to a top 8, barely in 8th place, on the 23rd of September. So I don't know. I feel like the deck, whenever I watch it, it feels really good, and people on Twitter are super excited about it. Somehow it doesn't perform yet. It might be a lack of numbers, like overall, like just like sample size. But
that's my guess. I think it is lack of numbers. I think the deck is pretty good. I was pretty high on it when we spoke about it before. Maybe I just said, I've just seen this really cool deck, and it did get some hype on Twitter. The Italians, Marco MM17 was playing it, and he got a few trophies in a row. And then Max Dortion was playing it and stuff, and it definitely got some hype. But I've not run into it very much. I think the numbers just aren't there, and it's the kind of deck where maybe it's just not quite good enough. It's a cool shell, and it's just very good. You get a few trophies every now and then, but not like kind of showcase challenge top 8 level. But I think it's the kind of thing where if it got a few more results and more people playing it, maybe even like a showcase challenge, as I said, or a 4 seasons kind of top 8, then I think people might pick it up more. But it's also a lot of the kind of the blue Days Wasteland shell players are also playing Scam at this point as well. So it's Grixis Delver. So there's a lot of different kind of tempo mid-rangey shells, so people are playing other things as well, which is a cool part of the format. For a long time we just had just blue-red Delver, or we had just Rug Delver with Oko Renesix. It's really cool. There's like Scam, there's more aggressive Scam, there's Rug Delver here, there's Bug. I've seen people playing Bug with this and with Up the Beanstalk, and there's Grixis Delver as well. It's cool. There's different flavors at least, but I think the numbers aren't there, and it's just good, not amazing, is my kind of take.
By the way, I'm looking through deck lists of the Saturday Legacy Challenge just to see how people were doing. There's Storm by Musa Sabi.
Oh, it's so cool. Yeah.
What is going on there? Like, there's 2 copies of Born Upon the Wind.
Yeah.
Born Upon a Wind.
Is that the one in the blue you can cast things as flash, basically?
And it draws a card.
Yeah.
It's basically Quicken, right?
Do you know about Musa Sabi?
Yeah, I have it every day.
No, the player though.
No.
They play like loads of different formats, and they stream as well, and they brew a ton, and it's always completely out there and wild, and they're just crazy good as well. So they're known for being quite a brewer, and they just come along and just do something weird like this and crush with it. It's really cool.
So help me out. What are you actually doing with this? So we can actually. Oh, it's all your spells. It's not like clicking your next spell. Okay,
no,
so
you can
all
go
your
LED, blah blah blah.
You can literally, this is the new 2023 Solidarity has just been born. You can go off with like lethal damage on the stack, kinda.
You could.
You can splash this card in any Magic the Gathering deck and call it the new Solidarity.
I mean, like if your plan is to like beat them down with Tarmogoyfs, not so much. I mean, unless it also allows you to attack on the opponent's attack.
Response Tarmogoyf.
Surprise blocker.
Yeah, but
imagine the value. Someone like Wastelands your Vault of Whispers, whatever it's called, then you flash Beseech the Mirror, sacrificing it. I don't know.
That's what we're doing. I don't know. Like I mean, we sometimes see kind of crazy stuff. Like what is the core shell of this? Is this Ad Nauseam 10? No, it's the core shell is like the mono black Storm deck, right?
Yeah, I do have it up in front of me, but it's like Beseech is the main engine now in these decks, surely.
And I guess there's Ponder and Brainstorm in there. It's the Saturday Legacy Challenge deck list. The link in the show notes on the second place.
I got it.
It has for so it's basically the mono black Storm deck, but it splashes blue for Brainstorm, for Thoughts, for Ponder, and 2 Born Upon a Wind.
Mm-hmm. Born Upon the Wind, yeah. And it's got the Guy's Will to go with the Beseech, of course. There's 3 Beseech the Mirrors, which I like. I think the card can be a bit clunky. As soon as you draw the second one, it can feel pretty awkward and stuff. So I like the 3 when you're playing cantrips. If you're not playing cantrips, you'll want the 4 for redundancy of tutors and stuff. But here, 3 Beseech, 2 Wishclaw Talisman, and 4 Infernal Tutor. So nice.
And in first place, by the way, Larson, Cephalo Breakfast, the deck that just doesn't want to die.
Doesn't want to die. What Bowmasters? I don't know any Bowmasters.
Also, Hammer Time in 6th place. What? Whoa.
Nice.
Crusherbot Beach. He loved that so much, that name.
Crusherbot, add it again. This is his baby. Yeah.
Sort of nice making a comeback in there. Damping Sphere in the sideboard.
3rd place, Kanakan, with a beautiful deck with Soul Cauldrons and Phyrexian Devourer. I love it.
Dude, yeah, I've been like lurking on some Discords and everybody talks about the Soul Cauldron combo or something. Can you help me out? What is the Soul Cauldron combo?
Yeah, so Phyrexian Devourer is...
Or maybe you help us out and tell us what Soul Cauldron does in the first place.
Okay, fine. So Soul Cauldron is a 2-mana artifact. It's a legendary artifact, which I've learned by playing a second one multiple times. And firstly, you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to activate abilities of creatures you control. I've forgotten this ability every single time as well, so I probably have like not activated a Goblin Engineer with an Ancient Tomb. Creatures you control with 1/1 counters on have all activated abilities of all creatures cards exiled with Agatha Soul Cauldron. And the 3rd ability is you tap the Soul Cauldron, exile target card from a graveyard. When a creature card is exiled this way, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. So just to give you like an example, you could exile a Griselbrand, and then all your creatures with 1/1 counters on them can pay 7 life to draw 7 cards.
And you get to put a +1/+1 counter as you exile the Griselbrand.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. So it's a trigger and you target one of your creatures and it gets a counter. So the combo here is Phyrexian Devourer is an old card from Alliances. It's a 6-mana artifact creature. It's a 1/1. If Phyrexian Devourer's power is 7 or greater, destroy it. Sacrifice it.
But that's a triggered ability, right?
That is a triggered ability, but it's not really relevant in this deck. It's relevant in pre-modern stuff, but not here. But it has an ability, which is just exile the top card of your library, is the cost. Put X 1/1 counts on Phyrexian Devourer, where X is the exile card's mana cost. So where that comes in, it's an activated ability, of course. So you play a Goblin Engineer, you search for the Phyrexian Devourer, because it's an artifact, you put it in your graveyard, and then with the Soul Cauldron, you exile the Devourer, and now every creature with a 1/1 counter on it has this ability to exile the top card, and then you put X 1/1 counters on that creature. So let's say you target the Goblin Engineer with the counter. Goblin Engineer can now exile cards from the top of your library and become huge. So it's kind of like you do need to use the combat damage step here. But if you have a Walking Ballista in play, you just get to, exile the top 20, 30 cards of your library and then just shoot them. And it's very strong because the removal doesn't interact very well. You can play a removal spell as the Soul Cauldron is targeting something to put a counter. But if you've got a Walking Ballista already in play, you can just keep exiling cards and keep shooting them in response to a removal spell on the Ballista. So it's kind of hard to interact with. It's got some windows.
Okay, wait. That was a little fast. So okay. I have a Walking Ballista, yep. And I got the Soul Cauldron.
Yep.
And then in most scenarios, they actually won't be able to disrupt me, because if they try to, let's say, Swords to Plowshares the Ballista, you just activate the ability that the Ballista got from Phyrexian Devourer again, remove a card,
Yep.
it grows. And
So let's say
can't just,
you
like, keep-
exile a Auric Salvages, so it gets 4 counters off that activation.
Yeah.
And
so
if-
they need as many removal spells as you have cards in your library or something.
It's essentially, yeah. And
Okay.
they could, play a removal spell on the Ballista in response to you using the Soul Cauldron to exile the Devourer. But if you just have the Cauldron, exile the Devourer, and then play the Ballista, they can't really interact
Oh, the
with that.
Cauldron actually remembers what was. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So it's
So
that
why doesn't
makes it so
play-
much harder.
Yeah. So the sequencing things are weird. Like sometimes you'll play an Engineer and try and put a counter and they'll remove it. But then it still remembers that you've got a Devourer ability under there. So then, your future things. And then it triggers to put a counter whenever you remove any creature card. So if you just play another creature, say a Salvages or another Engineer or whatever, and then, if you activate the Soul Cauldron again, exiling your Goblin Engineer that just got bolted, you can then, threaten it again. So the other nice thing with Cauldron is it's incidental graveyard hate. So you do run into decks playing Uro or Reanimator or whatever. So it's pretty useful card as well.
This combo is so iconic because maybe you guys remember, but like many years ago, there was like a very similar combo with Triskelion, and I think that's the same Phyrexian Devourer and Necrotic Ooze. Necrotic Ooze was a 4-mana 4/3 that basically says the same thing, right? As long as this guy's on the battlefield, it has all activated abilities of all creature costs and all graveyards.
Yeah.
For 12, 13 years ago, before I picked up Elves as my main deck in Legacy, there was like a hot minute where I thought this was my future in the format, that I would become a Phyrexian Devourer Necrotic Ooze guy.
Oh, that combo was so cool. You used to like Buried Life for all 3, right?
Exactly. That was exactly the deck. And I remember being in the thread on the source about it. And that was back then when we had the wildest deck names. And I really tried to coin the deck name Chinese Democracy for the deck because I figured it's just like, it sounds like it would have a meaning, but it actually didn't. And I think it's also like a famous rock album or something. And I just figured like it has this aura of mystery about it. Like, why is this deck called Chinese Democracy? No, nobody knows. And I'd be like, oh, that's so cool. I made it. But yeah, it never stuck. And to this day, the deck actually didn't really have a proper name, does it?
I
take
know.
your silence as an agreement.
It probably does, but I don't know actually.
Yeah, the proper name is like the Phyrexian Devourer Demonic Goose combo.
Yeah. I actually got a Devourer in the post on Friday. Is gearing.
Oh,
up
you
to
did?
purchase.
Very nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it reserved list, by the way?
I don't know.
I guess we can look it up.
But it has been like one of the most popular win conditions in Commander. Like
It is reserved list, by the way.
It is okay. It's pretty quite cheap.
And it's like 14 euros. Whoa.
I think I paid like 12 for it. Yeah. I mean, I want to play it in pre-modern as well, so it was an easy buy. And then
I guess you only ever need one anyway.
Yeah, generally. I tried tons of different versions of this deck I played like 10
Why
leagues
does it not surprise me?
over a weekend. But like every single league was just trying 10 different cards, and I played some lists with like 4 of them. And what I haven't tried yet is playing an Entomb version, which I think is actually probably quite good. But I played very similar kind of, salvages and stuff. What's so good in Bomberman is because you already want to play Walking Ballistas. You already want to play Ancient Tombs and Fast Mana. And what's so nice is, if you're salvages, you could discard salvages or it gets countered. You can then take the salvages activated ability and then combo off with, a Walking Ballista itself or something. Or like, the Goblin Engineer was by far the best find to add to the deck because Goblin Engineer actually comboed way more than salvages themselves in the deck for me. So it's quite funny. You can do some cool things with Lion's Eye Diamond as well, being a discard outlet. You just kill them.
This is the kind of deck that completely wrecks people who play against us for the very first time because they didn't listen to Everyday Eternal and now they encounter it in the wild and they're like, what the fuck is going on here?
The deck has some crazy lines, like really, really crazy. It just kills out of absolutely nowhere. I had a game where like turn 3 I had nothing in play except for a Saga going off and they died through like double counter magic or something. I don't know.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, very, very cool. I think it's a hard deck to play online because you still win with salvage combo quite a lot and people don't want to click through that quite reasonably. So it takes a lot of clicks with salvages, LED and Walking Ballista. And in paper, it's quite expensive because you've got Force of the Traders, you've got Lion's Eye Diamonds and stuff as well. So people might not... It's the Bomberman players that will have the deck, obviously. But then Soul Cauldron is very expensive because of standard and modern.
Wait, is it?
Yeah, it's like $50, $60.
What? For a standard card?
Yeah, it's a mythic and it's very, very good. It's
like to me, standard caps out at 20 euros. I can't help myself.
Not anymore, buddy. But it's very good in modern as well. So yeah, I think that's.
Oh my god!
I mean, it's crazy.
The card
Yawgmoth,
actually
right?
kind of went by me. I noticed you mentioned it a couple of times on some Discords,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, yeah, if I knew about it, Callum would tell me. Or I guess that doesn't make sense, right? If it was good, Callum would tell me or something. But then all of a sudden, like, I'm learning about this stuff. Like, the card is way too much text. I don't read it. It looks like a modern card to me.
It is. It's like, think of it in Yawgmoth. You've played Yawgmoth, right? He does a lot in Yawgmoth.
Blade is pushing it.
Yes, pushing it a bit, yeah.
I moved dice like from one card to another, and I won the game that way.
But yeah, people should look at this deck list. It's from Kanakan, who is by far the best Bomberman player there is.
Okay, we're gonna link it. Actually, it's gonna be in a Saturday. So if you're listening to this, check out the Saturday Legacy Challenge show notes, where you're gonna find all of that stuff.
Yeah, it's very cool. I think my intention is to play this at the next LLM. I think it's very cool.
Ooh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
LLM was great.
Yeah.
Oh, and speaking of great decks, we really have to give shoutouts. I think we already wanted to do it on the last episode, but then we ran out of time. MahfuzVanGogh, dude, absolutely rocking it with the blue-black Brainstorm Otherworldly Gay stretch deck that we made fun of like a year or something ago.
Kai made fun of.
I made fun of.
Yeah, we joined them, right?
And I lost that deck on stream today. So
you got destroyed. No, seriously, I think he's got like 3 challenge top 8s in a row or something, and now he got like 9th place in the following one. Completely out of control. Easily the most successful Legacy player online of the last month or something. I don't know, I'm making it up, but very much at least in contention for it, right?
Yeah. No, it's really cool. I mean, I'm a fan. I just adore Dredge with all my heart. It's one of my favorite decks in Legacy. So seeing this as like this slow grindy thing, I played against a friend a couple of weeks back at my local. I was playing goblins, just like vile goblins, and he was playing this, and we had some really, really interesting games because Scope Prospector is secretly the best card against Dredge because you pop their bridges at any time. But we had this back and forth. I was trying to kill stuff.
Shoutouts, but sorry to interrupt you. Shoutouts to my boy Morg Fanatic. Bad but not forgotten.
Yeah. But I mean, Morg Fanatic's great against Dredge as well. But we had some this game of Dredge versus Goblins go to turn 15 or something, super grindy back and forth. It was cool. So it's a cool deck.
That's the thing that Dredge was never really able to do until MahfuzVanGogh actually created this, which is to play Brainstorm, right? Which should be a completely broken card in Dredge, but never really was a thing. We tried all kinds of breakthrough and careful studies and stuff. I guess careful study is still in here, but now we got Brainstorm without Ponder, by the way. How many decks are there in Legacy these days that play 4 Brainstorm but no Ponder?
Yeah, not many. Can't
it's
think of any.
Really. Is it only this? Maybe.
There's probably someone that's just Ponder's boring. I'm not going to play it. There's some bug mid-range deck that plays 2 for sure.
I can imagine. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and now we got this. So this is very, very powerful. Otherwise, the Gaze gives you a lot more mid-range stuff. You have 3 Dazes in the sideboard. Now that sounds like some Kai tech.
Yeah, totally. I mean, this deck reminds me so much of the vintage Dredge approach, right? Where you dredge, but you also have interaction for your opponent's stuff, and you can counter whatever they play and stuff like that.
Sometimes you randomly get across the line with just 2 or 3 random creatures for 5.
Icarits and things. Yeah, totally.
There's only 2 copies of Icarid in here by now. It keeps dropping, right? It used to be 4, then for a very long time it was 3, and then they would always take out after sideboard, 1 out after sideboarding. Now we're down to 2 in the main deck.
Yeah. But man, but big fan of Dazes in the sideboard. Holy smokes! That reminds me of my days when on Ad Nauseam Tendrils. That was damn. It was one of the best days in my whole ANT career.
No pun intended.
Yeah, 3 days main deck and the 4th one in the sideboard. So good. and dude, even the tech with Chromox was insane because the Chromox was basically kind of was your additional land drop, right? In case if you
so you made up for the tempo loss from Days.
Yeah, you can also make make a Mock Sapphire anytime if your Days doesn't do anything in your hand.
Combos, bro.
Good. Kai explains how Chromox works. Keep going.
It was so good. No, I'm saying this because of Infernal Tutor, man. Sometimes you had to empty your hand.
Okay. And otherwise you couldn't get rid of Days otherwise. Sometimes.
I'm telling you, sometimes Chromox was better than actual Mock Sapphire just because of the imprint mechanic and because of Days not being able to just get rid of itself.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay, so buy all your Chromox now and sell all your Mock Sapphires.
Trade them. I've got some.
To trade
I'll
them
trade
one for
one for one. Yeah. I'll take your sapphires in for chrome boxes.
So generous.
Okay, we'll think about that.
What I've just realized is extra cool with this deck and the dazes in the sideboard is game 1, your opponent's going to see most of your deck and see no dazes and then just walk straight into it game 2.
Oh yeah, totally. Right, because of the dredge mechanic.
Yeah, and then game 3 they're like, oh, do they have them or not?
Well, like this is usually like the biggest downside of playing something like Dredge or also any Thassa's Oracle deck is that your opponent gets to see everything, literally everything, right? Except your hand maybe, but it is so like if I'm such a big fan of any like surprise things out of the sideboard, be it like opposition agent, for example, out of nowhere, or days in this scenario.
Okay,
like
you say that, but then again, what if you have like a really nice bling bling beautiful deck and you can show off everything? That's an upside. I don't know.
Do you know that like this is like super off topic now, but that was the main reason for me to start foiling out my deck like 10 plus years ago on Ad Nauseam Tendrils, because I was like, okay, so if I resolve this card Ad Nauseam, I want the opponent to just, go like, wow,
wow.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
I mean, Tendrils in foil looks amazing. Absolutely amazing card.
It definitely does, yeah.
I love your reasoning back then. Cool. Guys, is there anything else you want to talk about? By the way, I wanna I guess properly advertise our new website once more. It's everyday-eternal.com. It took a lot of work and it's out. You can learn, I guess, a lot about the podcast. You can order some merch. You can just look at our beautiful pictures and get a vibe if you want to show. Like, the beautiful thing is, if you ever want to show this podcast to a friend of yours, you don't have to link to this awful it's Julian.com page. Like the other day on Discord, people were even like, oh, Julian, there's a minor problem on your website. Like, there's been a major problem on the website for 3 years. Like, it's fine. It's like you drive your like completely destroyed car with just like 2 wheels into some drive yard, and somebody's like, oh, there's like a minor scratch on the windshield. Like, oh, you really? Oh my god, that's so bad. But I appreciate you guys like caring about the integrity of this total shit show that is It's Julian. It's gonna be banished to the Shadow Realm at some point, and the new beautiful thing is everyday-eternal.com or everyday-eternal.com. I really want to get eternalmtg.com because we're eternalmtg on Twitter, we're eternalmtg on Instagram, but this, I don't know, Christian sect who earns, they own everything related to Eternal, and maybe you should get like a GG domain, eternalmtg.gg, but that was like 60 or 70 euros a year. I already looked. It's kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how big does Magic need to get before we get a .mtg top level domain?
Or can we get .bg?
That's Bulgaria, right? Oh my god, check it out.
Everyday Eternal MTG.bgs.
It's available. Is BG actually a top level domain? Let me check. Yeah, it's Bulgaria, right?
Cool.
Dude,
we're now a Bulgarian podcast. It wasn't GGs, it was always BGs.
It's always BGs all the way. Actually, let me look into that. Maybe I'm going to make that a Patreon goal or something.
Oh, dear.
We're going to collect all the bad domains.
God.
No, thank you. Thank you so much, everybody who's been supporting us. We send out all the goodie bags, the gift bags, because I've been wanting to give back to a lot of you for way longer, but especially like since the beginning of the year, I've been thinking about it after meeting so many of you at Four Seasons and seeing what you make possible for all of us. And finally, after that is out, we already saw a lot of people like even post the stuff, right? I'd love to if you like post the stuff on Twitter. Just tag us at EternalMTG.
What was in the box?
What's in the box? What's in the box? So I put in something like 5 Sawatarix tokens. One of them was a surprise. Like we basically had the Construct, the Goblin Shaman, the Monarch, and what was the fourth one? What?
Orc Army.
Orc Army, yeah. And then the fourth one was like a surprise I had a mix, so everybody got like a different one.
Nice.
We also got the Eternal Warrior that was signed by all 3 of us. We got the entrance ticket to season 2.
Nice. Important.
Yeah, I wonder if somebody has actually scanned the QR code on both sides. I haven't heard about it yet, but maybe you want to do. We got 2 postcards. Oh, we got the sticker. We got a pretty like high quality sticker. I think the only thing I made different is for our lifetime biggest supporters, I added another bigger sticker, but everybody else got the same. And we also had 2 postcards with pixel art of Caracas and Thespian Stage. And those are like proper postcards. You can literally put stickers, well, ideally stamps on them and send it to a friend. I didn't send any of those to you. By the way, Kai, I still have like 200 or 300. You can actually give them out at, I don't know, like the tournament weekend. We'll see.
Oh, yeah. Like, at the booth maybe or somewhere
yeah,
else.
we can do something about that. Or maybe we sell them for like 10 euros each or something. What's the most expensive postcard you ever bought? $200 million. Yeah, you guys are excited for that. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's going to be it from us today. Check us out. Let everybody know. Thank you so much for all your suggestions, for all your ratings, your reviews. At this point, I keep discovering new reviews every week. Like, and there's this website where somebody left a review, and there's this website where somebody left a review. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, that's awesome. Also, thank you, yeah.
Thanks to everybody who answered our questions on Spotify the other episode. I think, Kai, you must watch Around Us next, because I put it up for a vote, and people voted that the next movie you must watch is Around Us. So definitely check that one out.
Okay. Noted.
Cool. Awesome. Guys, what are you up to for the rest of the night?
I'm building a Goblins deck to play tomorrow at my locals.
Tuesday night, right?
Tuesday night Legacies. I'm on a huge Goblin kick at the moment. So I was between loads of different versions, but then I got some really sweet cards turn up in the post today. So I got some Goblin Pyromancers and some Skirt Prospectors, but like nice Prospectors.
You got the name sticker Goblin?
Yes.
Mind Goblin?
So I don't actually have any of the stickers yet, so I need to print off some proxies for that.
Just use like everyday Eternals stickers or whatever.
I played Goblins last week or the week before, I think, and the night before I realized, shit, I don't actually have any of the sticker cards, so I had to borrow them. I've forgotten to order them now. So, but yeah, I've just built it, and I've got the deck like laid out in front of me. I've been like looking at it while we're doing this podcast. But I'm playing Food Chain tomorrow. So that'd be fun.
Okay.
That's spicy.
I've literally been killed by that card on turn 1 even at times.
I've killed with turn 1 on it a couple of times online.
I'm not even sure if the card can on Magic Online, right? You roll a dice, and I'm pretty sure it literally can't roll anything other than a 19 or a 20. Something is broken. Like,
you mean
I've literally never seen it like roll a 1 to 6.
Yeah. I played. Well, the thing is, I actually had sleeved up the Turbo Muxus deck to play. I got all the cards I needed to finish that the other day. But then I goldfished it and played League, and I just off it. It has a super, super high rolly fun games, but they're really fast. And then the ones where you lose, you just have no agency, and it's a bit boring.
It sounds a little bit like a slot machine.
Yeah, which is fun. It's like the Sticker Goblin thing, but
it's kind of what they were going for, right?
Yeah, but I also just got these food chains. I sold food chains a bunch of years ago, and then I just got the set in the post the other day. And I was like, okay, food chain goblins are sweet because it has like this like grindy element, but then it can just kill out of nowhere, so it's very fun.
The German names are sometimes like so great.
That's awesome.
I mean, it's literally food chain in German, right? But it sounds Nahrungskette.
Oh, man.
Here we go.
I'm just going to do a PSA for goblins as well. Battle Cry Goblin is crazy good. That card is so unassuming. It's 1 in a red for 2/2, and it has an activated ability for 1 in a red. Goblins you control get +1/+0 and haste until end of turn. And if you attack with 6 power or more, you get a 1/1 tapped attacking goblin, which is whatever. But it seems so meh and unassuming. But then with all the mana you're producing off Sticker Goblin, it goes crazy, and you can just kill it out of nowhere, even without muxes and stuff. So players...
Oh, because it also grants haste, right?
Yeah, so it gives muxes haste, it gives all your things haste. And very often I've like kind of flipped like a prospector and some other idiots who don't get haste then, and then you just sack 3 or 4 other things to pump your team and do crazy amounts of damage out of nowhere. So PSA, Battle Cry Goblin is way, 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 way better than you think it looks like. So, there we go.
I mean, sometimes like nothing is better than just like a big overrun, right?
Yeah. I think online I played it and the Sticker Goblin and like a Skirt Prospector and just attack for 12 or something. It's just like, yeah.
Oh, sounds amazing. Sounds amazing.
So yeah, I'm excited for that. How about you guys?
I will probably finish my league with Up the Beanstalk, Rock Delver, but I accidentally put in a copy of Commandeer in the main deck, and it already won me a game.
Wow, that was our suggestion to play, wasn't it? Didn't we say on the stream?
Dude! Like I commandeered a Narset from my opponent, and he immediately scooped. So that was so good.
Amazing.
Oh well, I just got a message that my card had spent 3 weeks being repaired, and that we just took back. My dad actually took it to his place. It fell apart again. Like holy shit! No. Come on, seriously, like. Maybe we should go back to like having oxen draw carts or something, like, or maybe a bicycle. Maybe we don't need to go back that far.
Yes.
I was about to say bike, and I was like, no, ox sounds cool.
Julian must know what he's doing, right? Kinda.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's gonna be it for me. I'm gonna figure out how I'm gonna buy an oxen and how much that is on this market.
Nice.
If you want to support us in buying an official Everyday Eternal ox, you can leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or you can sign up on patreon.com/everydayeternal. We are actually going to redo the Patreon. We're going to change it up quite a bit. So I hope you'll be able to still support us. If not, really no problem. But if you can, that means the world to me. And yeah, with that, shout out to everybody. You can find us on EternalMTG on Instagram and Twitter. And yeah, thank you so much, everyone, especially our Eternal Witness tier supporters, Colin Garassi, Alex Crow, Tim Everett, Testacular, Sebastian Holager, Guillaume, Sean Dewey, Francis Kauper, Cassandra Davis, Tom Zischka, Benedikt Gruber, and Severin Schwarzhuber. And our Grizzlebrand tier supporters, Scott Monroe, Tom Hepp, Kane, Ian Seifert, and Colin Oscar P. who's got the best name of any Patreon ever. I just can't get over it. Thank you so much, and see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Ladies everyone.